This is my phone, an LG G3 that has a problem. I tried to get it to do it for the camera, but of course now with the camera ready I can't get it to show. But basically the screen flickers on and off real fast, like there's a problem with the backlight, and it'll slowly fade away and fade out and go to black. And I went online looking at this symptom and found a solution. Two things to do. One is to put a little piece of paper on the PC board to sort of put more pressure on it, push it down onto the metal heat sink that's the back of the phone, the back side. And that I did that, it didn't work, so I'm going to open it up again. And they said you could put some heat sink grease on this point where a chip pushes up against the metal back of the phone. So let's go ahead and get started here. I already did sort of get started, and I was waiting for it to recreate its initial problem, but I couldn't get it to go. But basically, to open this thing up, you take out all of these little screws here, which there's 8 or 9 of them. So once you get all those screws out, the bottom piece here pulls off, and this ring comes off here. This. Okay. And then here's where I put the paper. They actually told us to put a few sheets of paper on this connector here, which is basically the connector for the video screen and the digitizer, the whole front of the phone. This little connector which pries up. So I'll go ahead and pry this up now. Without damaging any of the tiny electronics. And there goes the camera. I think it's kind of loose in here. Just kind of rides in there. And the point where I want to add the heatsink grease is under this board here. It seems kind of unlikely, but it looks like the only point where there's a heatsink pad is on the back of this camera. Let's see. Okay, I gotta stand corrected. The camera is this unit up here, but I think the video display, the front screen, and the digitizer are these connectors, which I've lifted up. I've had 2 of these phones over the years, and this is the second one. And the first one I did a digitizer repair on at one point. Well, I still don't see where there might need to be some heatsink grease. Might have gotten some bad information off the internet. Maybe here. There's a CPU here, but it doesn't seem to protrude out from this metal metal frame like it wouldn't make contact. Feels like it's slightly lower than the surrounding metal. Okay, I've decided, since I can't really find a point where putting a drop of heatsink grease would be helpful. I mean, there's like a thermal pad here that connects against this, but can't really find where I could improve the heat sinking if it's an overheating problem. But I think what I'm going to do, because I have another G3 that was my first phone that doesn't boot up anymore, but it has a new screen, I'm just going to try to swap the motherboard here into this case and see if the problem follows the motherboard or not. I really don't have much to lose at this point. It's also easier to swap the motherboard out rather than trying to pull the screen off of here. You have to, I've to replace the screen once, and you have to like lift up this sticky tape here with the ribbon cables on it, and these are the video connectors, and it's very delicate, and it's easy to damage it and rip it. You know, this cell phone stuff is not meant to be worked on at all, practically, except by a select few with the right tools and training. And that ain't me. I'll tell you that right now. Okay. Yeah, this phone I probably paid $600 for when it was new a few years ago, and this one I bought as a refurb, and I think it was $175 for the same phone, just in different color, but was a much better deal at $175 than the $600 they want you to pay now for a smartphone. It seems like that's the I got to take these screws out around the camera here. It was pretty tight. Okay. Alright, so I'm just gonna pull these up, and he's gonna wreck everything. Down, boy. Come on, down right now. So I have to get this motherboard off. Main board, whatever you want to call it. Which comes up pretty easy, just a little lift and it unsnaps. Oh, and I forgot about the camera connector. Okay. Another one here. Oh, that must be the microphone. Gosh, that's a lot of connectors for a tiny little microphone. No, actually, that's not a mic. That's the sensor. It's like a light and dark sensor here that I think, and an LED. No, maybe it's not that. But there's one here that detects when you're holding the phone up to your ear. But I think that's still a lot of connectors, man, for what it is, that little cube. There we go. Once it clears all the ribbon cables, I'll take what I think is the defective motherboard and set that aside. I think this will be the last time I'll be doing repair on this phone. Can't see too much more going wrong with it and being able to fix it. I don't know. Hey, let me get this back in and I'll restart the camera. Okay. I think I'll lift this one up for the LED indicator. Yeah, you see it installs fine, and then you a little downward pressure on that connector and it clicks in. Same thing with the camera. Okay, and then the digitizer and video display cables. Oh, this part, which covers the bottom of the phone, and it kind of slips in here at an angle first and then press down. There we go. Oh. Anyway, there's many of these screws that need to go back in. I'm just going to put like one or two just to see if it even works. before I put everything back together. You know what? Just realized something. Shit. Maybe I can't. Oh, crap. Okay, that's 2 screws in, and let's put the battery in. The battery is really weak too. It needs to be charged up. Okay, that's a good sign. Okay, so now, oh, there's the same problem I had. As you saw, it went and faded to black. So I guess what I'll do kind of tells me the display is okay. Look at it again and see if there's any point where I can put some heatsink grease, which I really didn't see. Look like there's a little some on this bottom part here, but yeah, see the flickering. Okay. Go ahead and shut it down again. So I've got it taken apart again. I put a thin layer of thermal compound here because a lot of the heat transfer is going on in this area, and a little bit on the raised parts of the chassis of the phone. Don't think it's going to help, but it was what was described in the posting that I read for this issue. So I'm going to put her back together now. You need like tweezers for this really tiny screw that goes by the camera and the power button. A little magnetism here. And that's actually not the right one. Actually goes up here. Dang. Hard to get that one in there. Let's see. There we go. Need a screwdriver that's about 10 times smaller. Okay. I've had it on for a while. Let's see. Well, we'll let it run for an hour or so and see how if this problem with the display reoccurs or not. Yeah, it hasn't been long enough, but I put all the screws in the back and tightened things down, so see if the improved heat transfer makes any difference or not. Alright, well, it's been about a week since I last worked on the phone, and to summarize, it ran well for about 4 or 5 days after the repair, but then started flickering again and getting worse and worse until the display would no longer light up at all. So I had to go ahead and replace this one. It was, you know, it worked good for a while, but like all things, it finally wore out. These LG phones, I'm probably gonna steer clear of them. Seems like they're high performance, at least for what you get, and the price at the time is good, but the longevity seems to be an issue with these compared with I'm going to try Samsung now. But that's pretty much it then. This phone, like I say, prolonged the life just a few days. It was pretty much inevitable that it was going to fail. So thanks again for watching. Good night.